I was thinking to myself, what am I doing here? This doesn't fulfill me. This doesn't make me happy. Money is not everything. I want to find out what my purpose in life is. I wanted to serve people. I wanted to serve others. You can achieve anything you want in life as long as you have the consistency, the patience, and the faith to do it.
Welcome back, investor. Today we've got investor and entrepreneur extraordinaire Will Dowd from Florida. Hello, Will.
Hey, how's it going?
Going great. I have been planning on having you on the show for what's it been now, like since 2023. We went hiking in Kauai, and you were telling me your story. And I asked you, "Do you ever do podcast interviews?" And you're like, "Not really. I don't know, maybe." And so I am like, their story was so cool that I really wanted to share it with the audience about your entrepreneurship journey, your investing journey, your like journey of self discovery, and kind of a cool. I don't know if sabbatical is the right word. I don't know. Is that the right word? Like kind of rediscovering yourself after financial freedom and how to emerge into the next phase of your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
But
that's exactly it. First of all, I'm really honored to be here. I came to the United States as an immigrant with a deep desire to build something meaningful, right? I came back in 1997 when Will Smith was getting jiggy with it. I was in Tampa, Florida with a suitcase and a dream. That's how that was that simple. And I went through a lot of struggle through that process of discovery and being able to discover myself through that process. Coming from Dubai, where I was raised, I didn't even have to worry about doing laundry or doing dishes or doing any of that. And I came to America and here I am. I have to do dishes and laundry and all that. So there was a big learning curve for me, right? But through that process, I learned and I adapted. And that was the key is the adaptation process. That skill taught me to be able to basically adapt to my environment very quickly. And that trait led me into going after the things that I wanted in my life. So I started my career in the mortgage industry back in 2003 as a loan officer, right? I was riding the wave until the market collapsed in
yeah,
2007. That was a turning point in my life, right? And then from there, I just started asking the big questions like, what do I do in my life now? And it was those small decisions that I made in my life that were small at that point, but they were big after you look at them looking back. One of the first things I told myself was like, okay, I've been here for a while. I haven't seen my family. I got to be next to my family. So I made a decision to go back and be with my family back in Dubai. And in that process, I still wanted to be in real estate, but I just didn't know what type of real estate I needed to be in. The mortgage business was not doing very well. You know what? I started knocking doors and asking questions. And I ended up finding out that one of my family members, my uncle, bought a piece of land in Dubai. And it was a commercial lot that was zoned for G plus 16. That's a mid rise tower.
hmm
And basically helped him launch that business, that company. And lo and behold, back in 2007, 2008, Dubai just launched the ability to be able to buy freehold real estate. And so my uncle was at the right place at the right time, bought that lot, I think for like close to 100 grand, right? And then from there, we went to the mall, we rented a kiosk in the mall. We had some pre-planning, like some designs, not actually fixed designs, but we had some designs of buildings. And we basically decided was we were going to go with this building. And then we launched it at the kiosk and we sold out the first 3 weeks. The whole building was sold out cash. Like it was that quick. And basically, me and my uncle became millionaires overnight. And I was 27 years old at that time. I was 26 years
Okay.
old. And then from there, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I went through that process of Dubai's growth after a year. And then after that, some things between me and my uncle didn't go very well. We didn't align in specific things. So I stepped out. And then I worked for one of the members of the royal family in Sharjah. He was basically the operator for a real estate development company in Dubai. It's called Ensha. You can look it up. But they built the Palazzo Versace Hotel, the D1 Towers. Those are beautiful buildings in Dubai. And he was one of those developers. And so I worked with him for about 7, 8 months. I was making decent money and I was, I had a good life, nice car, good money. I was making over $250,000 a year. I was 27 years old. But if you remember when the Lehman Brothers went belly up, Dubai, the UAE was a big investor in the Lehman Brothers. So when they went belly up, Dubai almost bankrupted. And through that process, a lot of investors in Dubai back in 2008, 2009, you can read into it. You'll see that a lot of people just left. They left their Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all their vehicles at the airport with the keys inside and they left. Because in Dubai, if you don't pay your bills, you don't just file bankruptcy, you go to prison. So
Mm.
they were very scared. Dubai was on the verge of filing bankruptcy. And from there, I kept my job because the guy was the richest guy in town, right? And he doesn't care whether he's selling property or not. His dad is the ruler of the city of Sharjah. They literally print money, right? So their goal is to get people into the country, not to print money and not have money, right? The money is limitless for them, just getting people to be in their country.
Okay.
So from there, the challenge was for me, I was just sitting in an office in a higher building overlooking the beautiful city of Dubai. And I was thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Nobody's buying anything. And I'm just sitting there collecting money. I was like, this doesn't fulfill me. This doesn't make me happy. And I literally went in his office. I was like, look, with all due respect, I just don't feel fulfilled in this office. I need to go do something that is more challenging. So I'm making a decision to go back to the US to challenge myself to get some type of degree, the hardest degree that's out there. Right. So I went back to Tampa, made that decision. He was like, "Are you serious? If you ever want and you want a scholarship?" I was like, "No, I'm good. Like, I'm just gonna go, okay?" And I just literally left. And my family were like, "What are you doing? This is the best job you've ever had, and you're making a lot of money." I was like, "But money's not everything. I want to find out what my purpose in life is." And that was like the stepping stone where I jumped from the materialistic world to more of like, why am I here? And that was like 27 when I was 27 years old. So I went back to Tampa. I literally went to USF, University of South Florida. I walked into the engineering department and I was like, look, what's your hardest major? And she's chemical engineering. I'm like, sign me up. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And so I literally signed up for chemical engineering only because it was the hardest major in the college, right? So I joined College of Engineering, admitted myself in and all of that, went through the chemical engineering program. A year into it, after organic chemistry and all of that, I was like, I'm starting to get more attracted to how electricity and electrons work and how atomic structures work. How is it so amazing that everything, like the table of elements, was like, to me, one of the biggest things that were like, I was into back in when I was 27 years old. I literally had the periodic table with me at all places, like in my books and everything. I was just always looking at it and determining, okay, what's the pattern here? I couldn't find what the pattern was, but I switched from chemical engineering and I understood that I needed to be electrical. And because I saw where everything was going in computers and as far as batteries and all of that, when Elon Musk was doing the Tesla thing and SpaceX and all that, I was like, you know what? I want to get into the energy storage space and see what I can do with that and real estate. And I was just trying to compare things to figure out what fit in here. I want to become an innovator, right? So I joined electrical engineering, College of Engineering, and then I went in there and I was literally my whole week was I would go into the library from in the morning and I would just study all day. And there was a time where I was studying and I was acing my classes and all of that. And there was this little time that I spent just doing nothing. I was like, you know what? I have a little money in the bank. I was like, let me just maybe buy, I like cars. So I was like, let me buy one or two cars and see if I can make money doing that. Because to me, I was like, what can I do here in this library that I can still make money, but I can still study at the same time?
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? I can do the 20-10-20 rule. I'll study for 20 minutes. I'll do marketing for 10 minutes for my cars and I'll go back to studying 20 minutes. And I did that consistently. And what I found out was that I was buying cars on, for example, on Craigslist. I was finding deals. I would just give them offers and I would literally buy the car and sell it for $1,000 more. The car, get a detailer to detail the vehicle, take some nice pictures on it in the USF parking lot, and I would just put it on Craigslist. And I would literally get people come to the parking lot and buy the cars from me. And I was making three to $5,000 a week doing that. It got to a point to where I was doing that. In the beginning, it was one or two cars, but after 4 months, I had 7 to 8 cars. And my HOA sent me a letter saying, you can't have that many. People thought I was a drug dealer, right? I had
Oh,
cars in my house. And so I was like, you know what? It's getting out of control. And you can only sell so many cars every year.
yeah,
So when I
before you're a
finally got my
dealer.
dealer's license, I went,
Mhm.
it took me a week to do it and went and got a little office space with a parking lot. And I put the cars there and I would just literally sell the cars from those lots. And by the 4th year, now mind you, I was acing my classes all throughout, straight A's throughout the whole thing. And then by the time I graduated with honors, and then at that time, by the 4th year, I had 130 cars and a full-fledged car dealership, okay? I was financing my own cars. So because I learned from the mortgage business how to read credit reports, analyze, underwrite loans, I was like, it's the same concept with cars. I just got to do their debt to income ratios and I can find out if they can qualify or not. And I was literally financing them for the car. So it was an extremely profitable business. But by the 4th year, when I had generated over $1 million in revenue for the car dealership and I graduated with honors, it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm starting to get burnt out again. I'm starting to feel like I'm hamster on a wheel and I'm
Mhm.
not getting anywhere. And it was just getting so stressful dealing with customers that were unhappy with their cars. And I was just so much crap, right? I was like, I got to stop again. And that was the time where I was asking God to guide me, right? And before I was just always in control of what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to be an engineer. I want to be this. I want to do that. I want to go after my thing. But at that point in my life, I had everything. I did my graduation. I made my mom proud. Everybody knows now I'm not dumb anymore, right? I'm not that young kid that parties all the time when he was in his 20s, that I have something, that I've earned something. And I was like, What was I doing there?" Now looking back, I was like, "What was I proving there?" And that's, I think, a lot of people do what they're doing in their life. They go after things what other people want them to go after, right? So when you're a kid, your teacher or your parents are telling you, "I want you to be a doctor when you grow up." And you're always in this program in your mind, you're gonna go after something to try to please someone else or trying to exist in society. And what I realized, I was like, I need to stop doing these things for what I think I should do for other people, what their perception of me, and I need to do something that I truly believe that needs to be done. And the only connection that I found there was God, right? Because God is the one that talked to me in a way, was like, you have a purpose and you just got to follow me for you to hear your purpose. He came to me in a very subtle way. I was at the dealership. We had a stressful week. We had to repossess 2 cars, and one of my assistants sitting next to me, "Hey, one of my friends canceled to go to church. Could you come with me?" I'm like, "I don't go to church. I've never went to church. I'm okay." And she's like, "No, please help me out. Do me a favor." I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna do you a favor, and I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna sit all the way in the back. I'm gonna just be next to you, and that's all I'm gonna do for you." When I went there, it was like a big turn in my life. That was the moment where I definitely reflected myself, because I saw what God was trying to tell me. I never saw it that way before. I always asked God what I wanted, and I never asked God what he wanted. It was at that moment where I dropped everything and I said, "God, what do you want from me?" And when I asked that, it was very clear to me what I needed to do. I needed to drop all these things I was attached to in the materialistic world, and I needed to focus on exactly what he's asking from me. The moment I started seeing what the commandments were and how I reflected myself to the commandments, I saw myself, I was, whoa, I was like, I'm not even close. Like, first thing I need to do is I need to take care of my mom and my dad. I'm so selfish. Like, I need to stop. I decided to close the car dealership right there. So that
Mhm.
moment, I said, I'm closing that business down. And then it was a week of praying to find out if God really wanted me to take care of my family. And if he wanted me to go take care of my dad and my mom, he needs to help me and show me he's blessing me in that way. And that week, believe it or not, I got 3 calls from 3 different pastors, random, and they bought 3 different cars from me, from 3 different churches. It was like a wake-up call for me to tell me like, "Hey, I'm hearing you, and I'm going to guide you along this way." The moment I received that confirmation, I was confident at that point that what I was doing was right. That everything that I had, that even if I lose it now, I know that God was gonna bring it back to me in a different way, but I didn't know how it was, and I didn't expect anything. All I knew that I needed to serve and I needed to surrender. And then from there, that was like the joy that started, like the real joy started. Knowing the fact that you're going out on a blind like foot, like you don't know where you're going. You know where the light is and you're gonna go towards it, and God is gonna guide you through it, and He's gonna confirm along the way that He's present. And that happened along the way. I traveled back to Dubai. I literally went to my dad's office. I haven't talked to my dad for 4 years. I was like, "Dad, I'm here to help you out." And my at that time, my dad really needed help in his business. He was running like a really big printing company in Dubai, and he didn't have anyone to be able to trust. And a lot of people in the company were using him. I found out later, but I was there for a reason, and I helped him sell that company and for him to retire. And then from there, I helped my mom and doing all that. But through that process of surrendering and giving and serving, I learned the essence of what a business should be, right? That was the time and moment I really realized that I had it all wrong. I was trying to get something from this instead of asking and receiving instead. I was trying to snatch what I wanted and wait rather than wait and get it as an attraction for being received. So that's what happened. When I did that, after I fulfilled that purpose and I felt I fulfilled that to my mom and my dad, at that point I was like, okay, my next step is my son. I got to be next to my son. I got to take care of my son. And then I went back to Tampa, Florida, and that was the moment where I said, "You know what? I'm here next to my son. What can I do to make me money to continue to do something that's going to generate me income?" And this was back in 2014, somewhere around there. And in the process of being next to my son, I realized that I really liked the fact that I wanted to serve people. I wanted to serve others. So I started serving at church, and that process gave me that joy. I was like, okay, if I can do the same thing I'm doing here, but doing it in a business mindset, a business model, maybe it'll become successful. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back into real estate, but at this time, I want to be a real estate agent. I'm going to just serve people because I love architecture. I love homes. I love how the design of homes are. If I can be active, walk around, not sit on a table like I did being a mortgage guy, and look at beautiful real estate and help people and make money doing it, I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad gig. So I started doing that back in 2016. I got my real estate license and I joined Keller Williams at that time. And I would walk into the office. I wasn't desperate, right? So I had money, right? I was just wanting to serve. I just wanted to
Mhm.
do things the right way. I wanted to help people. I wanted to give them hope and inspire them how God has inspired me, right? So at that point, I was like, literally, my phone calls, everybody was cold calling for a listing. I would call and I would literally say, hey, you're probably getting a lot of calls from real estate agents. I'm not calling to list your house. I understand the house is expired, or maybe you're selling it for sale by owner, whatever the call was. Let me ask you a question. If somebody decides to buy your house, do you have the proper documents that are going to be required to make sure that you're going to be able to close on the house? We understand that there's a contract. I'm like, yeah, there's a contract, but the sales property disclosure. You're an HOA community. You have an HOA disclosure. They're like, oh, we didn't know it. We needed that. I was like, don't worry about it. Just give me your email and I'll send it to you. And they're like, you're just going to give it to us? I'm like, yeah, just go ahead, have the documents. But all I'm asking, if there's an event that you are considering to hire a real estate agent, just give me that opportunity. That's all I'm asking. And I would hang up and I would do these calls every single day. 3 weeks in, doing the calls with all my heart. I'm just full of it, right? I'm just loving the fact that I'm helping people. And I had faith in God that He was going to bless me in some way. I know He's coming to me. I don't know how, but I'm just going to do it for Him. And I'm not going to do it as a trade off. I'm not going to go help people just because I want something. What changed things? I was doing it without an expectation of a return. That is what made things change in my life because before I was doing things in an expectation of a return. When that happened, it was like a river of blessings came to me. And it came to me in a very subtle but in a very exponential way, right? Because people were calling me back. I made so many calls. People were calling me back. Hey, Will, you were the only guy that gave us those documents, and we really felt close to you. Could you come over right now? We're actually considering hiring a real estate agent. And my first year, I closed 28 transactions. Now, that is for a new agent, that is really hard to do. At Keller Williams, I got all these awards, right? And they're telling me like, "Hey, can you stand up and tell people like how you did it?" And I was literally telling them like, "Look, just serve others. Really genuinely care about people because that is exactly people are not stupid. People feel if you're treating them well, if you're taking advantage of them, people know that. People feel that. They're instinctual. And on top of it, God's looking at the whole story. If you're doing something that's shady, you're not gonna get blessed. Like do something with a genuine heart and do it the right way. And the moment I started doing that, so I started getting a lot of traction from people and I have gained a lot of relationships and all that. That was beautiful. Through that process, I'm not sure if you want to continue on this lane. Do you want me to keep going?
Oh, and when we were hiking, I was hiking in front and you were hiking behind me. So the person in front can't really talk because like we keep having to turn around to project backwards. And I was like, just tell me your story and I'm gonna just keep hiking. I just listened and I thought I really need to get this on my podcast so that you can just share that story. Yeah, I would love to keep going on the history, catch us up to the present day. There are a few things I wanted to kind of remark on. You reminded me when my dad was in college, he didn't graduate college till he was like 29, 27, something like that, because he just couldn't stop taking classes. Back then, they didn't have the maximum number of credits like they do now because they were trying to get people like my dad out of the school. And he was just taking hard classes because he was a smart kid in high school, but he never did his homework and he always felt dumb because he wasn't working hard enough or he wasn't checking the boxes. I don't know if you relate to this. And so he would just sign up for really
Yep.
difficult classes. He took choir direction. He took lots of math classes, lots of science classes. And after he and my mom got married, she was bugging him to hurry up and graduate. She wanted him to get a job so that she could have a baby. And she would bug him all the time. And he said, fine, I'll go into my advisor and I'll just find out like what I can graduate in. And so he comes back home and he says, okay, so I talked to the advisor and he said I could graduate at the end of this semester with a double major in math and English and a minor in physics.
That's funny.
So, and it just made him feel redeemed in a way that he could
Yeah.
tackle hard things. It sounds like you had something similar to that, and you're going like from challenge to challenge, but at the same time, the burnout kind of hits. And so you're not working as an engineer. You got the engineering degree, and it's okay, now what's next? And where the real turning point was is you're hanging out with people who are talking more about service than they are talking about money. And when you didn't need the money, suddenly your whole mindset could turn around because then you're I love the shirt that you're wearing if you're not watching this on YouTube. He's got a big heart on his shirt, just right over your left pec, let's just call it that.
Where
To
my heart
show,
is.
like, it's encapsulating a lot of what you're talking about. You get that
Yeah,
heart and you get that service, and you this is what the show's all about. Figure out a way to pay for your lifestyle so that you can go out, spend time with the people who really matter. Like you mentioned your son, you mentioned your parents, you mentioned the people you're serving, and doing work that really matters, just helping people out without the expectation of karma because you don't need karma at that point. You're past that where you can genuinely say, I just want to put good out in the world today. So continue on that, kind of catch us up
that's right.
to where we are today.
So money or rewards or anything that has monetary value, anything that is rewardful to you is a result of good service, right? That's the equation. If you don't
Yeah.
get money from service, it means you're not giving good service. It means there's something that you need to change about yourself and your values to be able to get that. And don't rush through things because your time is different from God's time. You have to fully surrender. And it's not like I'm going to act like I'm surrendering. No, you have to fully surrender and you have to accept the fact that even if you don't get a reward from this, that it's because God wanted it that way and that He's trying to tell you something. And you have to listen and be quiet enough and be patient enough to listen to what He's trying to tell you. And that
Mhm.
only comes, those revelations only come through silence and waiting and yielding to God what He wants you to do. And that is what I didn't have before that 2013. Look, just before 2013, life was very hard for me, okay? And I was in a victim mindset mentality all the time because when life is hard, it's very easy to explain to others why you're in the place that you're in. The reason why I'm broke is because I did this and this happened to me and I'm an immigrant and they're like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. Sucks to be." But again, excuses only justify the people who make them. I was justifying why I am where I am. And I didn't try to visualize myself being in a different place. I think when you start surrendering and you start asking God, right? That is because what's happening in your life is you can be control of a few things like grabbing something to eat, going to the bathroom, but ultimately you're not in control. You are basically a result of your actions, and your actions are based on your values, and your values are based on your thoughts. And so if you're thinking all these bad things in your head of why you are and things are happening this way and all of that, things are going to continue to happen that way for you. But the moment I said, no, things are like this, yes, that's right. But things are going to be different for me. And I'm going to start asking God what I want from life. And I'm going to serve Him. And if He gives me those as gifts, I'm so grateful for it. But either way, I'm grateful to be alive. And thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. And thank you for and so when I started being grateful for the small things that I had and just literally just doing the things that He's asking from me, things have just started to slowly grow. And that's over time and consistency. And don't get me wrong, life can slap you right in the face. There's so many things that could happen to you. But as long as you keep faith and knowing that things are going to get better, things will get better for you. And what happened to me, right? Like I can tell you all the hardships that I went through, how I lost my brother, and all these were devastating moments in my life. But that's not gonna serve the purpose of this podcast. What I wanna be able to echo or ripple to the listeners is that you can achieve anything you want in life as long as you have the consistency, the patience, and the faith to do it, right? If you're consistent and you're patient and you have faith, and obviously you take massive action, like Grant Cardone says, take massive action, you're going to get those things, but it's gotta be on his time and not your time. So it became clear to me that business was a tool to serve and uplift others, right? Not just to succeed for myself. So when I started thinking about that, I was calculating every day. Before I was looking at my QuickBooks, I was looking at my financials. Now I'm looking at how many people have I served today? How many people have I changed? Have I inspired today? How many have I helped? Right? Those were my KPIs at this point, right? Things changed in my business. And when things changed that way, the results followed, right? So when I went back into real estate back in 2016, becoming a real estate agent, I don't like being in a repetitive place, right? If I'm seeing myself repeating myself, I need to change. I'm not growing, right? So I'm always trying to look at the highest potential that I could become in my life. So if I get to a point where it's just replicating, I need to either delegate that and grow out of it, or if it's not making me happy and it's not giving me joy and I'm not doing God's purpose, I'm going to back up and I'm going to say, what am I doing wrong? And what do I need to change in my life? And that I've always pivoted that way, although it seemed crazy at that time when I did. But looking back, I've gained so much now to go back and say, wow, like I did this, I did that, I did this, and boom, and everything's adding up, right? So, like, for example, let me share this with you. If I didn't go and challenge myself to be at USF, to go in engineering and become an electrical engineer, right? I wouldn't be able to right now build the most powerful quantum computing encryption protocol that is ever made, right? But also at the same time, if I didn't do real estate, which I followed to serve others and all that, I wouldn't have the enough money and passive income to be able to sit here for hours and build up this the whole framework that's going to change the way we send messages and the security of things, right? So everything, like how Steve Jobs says, you gotta have faith that things are gonna connect. But from when you're beginning, they don't seem like they're gonna connect. But you gotta follow your heart and follow your passion. And as you continue to grow over time, things will connect. I promise you. Because if you continue to do things you enjoy doing and you love doing, eventually it's going to become to a specific bucket of all the things that you love doing. And now the things that you love doing are starting to show correlation, right?
Yes.
So now I can build. So one of the things that I'm doing, so when I did the real estate thing as a real estate agent and then became a broker and I had a real estate team. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I'm seeing a lot of real estate opportunities. So I'm going to start buying some of these houses. I started fixing and flipping these houses. I'm like, okay, I got my engineering degree, so I can get my general contractor's license. Boom. Okay. Boom. I got my general contractor's license. And then from there, I was like, wow, I'm flipping houses. But now, you know what? I want to change the world. I want to build houses that are hurricane proof. And
Mhm.
so now I'm working on designs, but I wouldn't have got here if I didn't get my engineering degree because I didn't follow my heart there. I wouldn't have served people and understood their needs on what they want in life. And I would have never went in that niche of building a hurricane proof home because if I didn't have compassion, right? And I didn't care about people, I would build a house that makes me 100 grand every time. A single family block home, 3-2, build it for 200, sell it for 350, make 100 grand, call it a day. But I'm not doing that, right? Building a house that's hurricane proof, yeah, it's going to be a little riskier, a little bit more expensive. But if actually that happens and I build that house and the hurricane hits, God forbid, in another 2 or 3 years in a subdivision, and my house is the only one standing, I did it for a reason because I cared about that homeowner that's going to live in that house. But maybe down the road, God blesses me, said, because you did the right thing, I'm going to bless you to do a whole subdivision now. That is where I think where faith comes in, right? Because to me, I didn't have that. And when I started having that, things are starting to connect for me. And I'm having a life full of purpose. Like I'm every day I wake up, my body wakes up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. And not because the alarm, not because I need to do anything. I wake up, I literally wake up and I sit there and I pray and I meditate and I just start thinking about what I want to do in my life. A lot of people don't have that pleasure, that leisure because what? They're waking up to go get the 9 to 5 job to be able to pay the bills. That's the minimum. I'm having to wake up to build a dream, build something amazing. And that would have never happened if I didn't start in the beginning when I had nothing and I had faith. So that's what I wanted to start it with. I just wanted to add that on to that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a different mindset that you get, the crush it mindset that everybody's talking about. It sounds like in some ways you're like, "Oh, you're gonna go take on something challenging, you're gonna take the hardest classes, you're gonna choose a new career." But you're not talking about crushing it at all. You're talking about, like you said, like putting something out there without the expectation of receipt, but then being open to being receiving. You don't have to snatch it. You don't have to crush it. You just have to put good things out there and then something good will happen or not. It's a very different way of looking at the world. Do you feel like the amount of financial freedom you experienced young, because you're hanging out with very wealthy people, you said like money printing, money is no object for them. So they were more concerned about getting people to come and move in and stimulate economic activity in the area. When money doesn't matter, you start to see like this other thing matters. Was that impactful for you as you moved that direction? Like when you see people who are living with money, the need for money stripped away, you start to notice a lot of different motivations. And did that set you on that journey to figure out what yours were?
Yes, absolutely. So back in and that's when I was in Dubai. I joined forces with Ensha and I started working for them. We had a meeting with the municipality of Sharjah, right? When the Brothers went belly up and people were literally fleeing the country. It was very bad for the city because they're seeing all these vacancies happen and jobs are vacated, all of that. They're literally seeing their economy collapse before their eyes. So the discussion was when I went to meet with these big officials for the government, I had an Australian guy with me. The Australian guy was like, "Yeah, we need to up the sales and we need to." And the guy was looking at me and I understood what he's trying to tell me. It's not about increasing the sales. It's not about making the product better. It's about how can we keep people? right? How
Mhm.
can we keep people here? How can we come to stay here? When the Australian started going off on that, I felt the sense of them backing up, like they don't understand this. And then the moment I saw that, I was like, and what's happening with Lehman Brothers and all of that, and Dubai is potentially on the verge of filing bankruptcy, and a lot of people are losing their jobs and are fleeing the city. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's important to you to have these people still be around. That's correct. They're like, that's absolutely it. How can we continue to have people around? I was like, maybe you need to change some of your policies to allow potentially them to file bankruptcy,
Yeah. The
right?
city can file, but individuals can't file. That's gotta change.
And they're like, we can't do that. I was like, yeah, but some things are going to require a change. If you are requiring, I was like, in America, if somebody is not able because they lost their job, they're not able to pay the bills, they file bankruptcy. And by the way, 6 months later, a newspaper article went out, and Dubai was basically proposing a new bankruptcy potential law. But what I'm saying to you is that the solution, when I started seeing what bigger governments and people that had a limitless amount of money,
Mhm.
their objective wasn't about material things. Their objective was about people. And so I saw that people were the most valuable asset in any country, right? In any place, it's people. It's not any products, it's people. People bring products and services to a specific location. So the moment I saw that, when I went back to the States and I started serving others, that was a confirmation from God that a human being is the most valuable asset in any place, right? So I started focusing on the person, on the families, on the individuals. When I saw somebody broken down, homeless on the side of the street, I would literally stop, sit with them, and tell them my story. You can do anything you want in your life, right? Oh, yeah, whatever. I'm like, look, this is my story. I came here with nothing. I slept in my car. I became an illegal immigrant. I told them all my stories, and they're like, whoa, like that happened. I was like, yeah, I was literally going to be deported from here. But I stuck around and I turned my life around and I kept believing and having faith and I worked and I did the right things and things started working out for me. And you can do that too. You just have to be able to be disciplined enough to believe in that. And so I would inspire people to do things. Like, for example, one of the biggest reasons, actually, the honest truth why I love Dubai is because I was driving back from my job to my house and it was like 120 degrees. It's really hot. And like around August time, Dubai is like on planet Earth. It's the dead season for a reason
Mhm.
there. Everybody leaves at that time because it's too hot. It's unbearable. Anyways, I'm in my car. My car is literally going to overheat. AC blowing hot air is, even if it's cold, it's blowing hot air. So it's still hot. And there's this old man sitting wearing like these overalls, blue overalls, looks like prison overalls, but they're construction overalls. They're colored blue. And anybody in Dubai knows what that means. That if they're wearing blue, it means that they're construction workers. And so he's sitting there, he's probably in his 60s, 70s, and just like leaning down and it looks like he's about to pass out. And so I stopped the car. It was my birthday that day. I stopped the car and I actually recorded on YouTube. I'm not sure if I can still find it, but it's on YouTube. I stopped the car. I said by him, I was like, hey, brother, are you okay? He's like, water. I'm like, okay, fine. I run to the grocery store, which is right across the street, grab a bunch of water, grab food, grab whatever, and bring it back to him. And I sit down with him and I give him the water. He starts chugging, and so I was like, all right. He's, hey, just tell me your story. What? Why are you here? Why are you out in the heat? He's because I'm waiting for the bus. I'm like, you work for a company, right? He's yeah, I work for a construction company, and actually, I came from Pakistan, and they told me that I was going to be able to live comfortably here, be able to send money for my family. And the moment I came here, they took my passport away, and now I live in a labor camp with a bunch of people. I was like, "Okay, where do you live?" He's in this building. I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, we live in a small room. There's 3 bunk beds, and we all sleep in 6 people in a small room, and the whole building shares like 1 or 2 bathrooms in the whole building." I'm like, "That's," I was like, "Crazy." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, so how much do you make?" "I make $500 a month." And that moment he said that, I was like, "How dare they? Like, how dare they do that to this human being? Bring him over here, take his life away, and then prison him like this and keep him out on the side. At least give him some water if you're gonna wait." I was like, "Did you eat anything?" He's like, "No, we only eat after work when they drop us back to our place." And the moment I saw that, I thought to myself, I was like, I'm contributing to this. Being present in the city, I'm contributing to it. And I packed my stuff. I literally like that was the week the breaking week for me to tell my mom. I was like, I'm going back to the States and I want to be an engineer. I want to challenge myself. I want to be something bigger than who I am. And that was why I moved from Dubai. And but going back to that is that people are the most valuable asset in any place.
Yeah.
You can like you've heard this story. It says, "Would if I gave you $1,000,000 right now, would you accept it?" Okay. If I gave you $1,000,000 and I told you that you're not going to wake up tomorrow, would you still take it? No. So your life is worth more than $1 million, right? So if you're worth more than any money that can provide for you, then why are we acting in a way that we're willing to sell ourselves for money? And that's what's happening in the current world, in my opinion. A lot of people are selling their time and their life, their purpose, their everything, their passion for money. And all I'm asking is stop, sit on a couch for a minute, meditate for 5 minutes, and tell yourself, what is the one thing that you want to do that's going to make your life the most fulfilling life that you've ever had? And I ask myself that every single day. And that is why I'm so laser focused. And I don't see anything impossible in my life because I know it's going to take time to do anything impossible, right? Like I built a whole protocol system programmed using ChatGPT, doing everything, right? I could have hired software engineers, paid them $500,000 to do it, but I built it over a period of close to a month and a half, and it's worth now close to a $250,000 just for the framework. Now, for the actual idea, the concept, and all of that, and coming up with a solution that's going to help people have send more secure messages, not being able to be hacked, things like that is extremely valuable. That's going to be worth north of $1 billion, right? But if I didn't sit on a couch and I didn't pray and meditate and ask what I wanted from life and what God wants me to do, I would have never to conclude that this is what I need to do today. This is what I need to do at specific time. So my burnouts have become less and less now that I don't get any burnouts because I have big goals, big plans, and things are moving so beautifully for me. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be able to have that, to be able to actually change something and make it better in this world. So that's like my story. But my current focus right now, focus on three pillars, right? Building innovative housing systems. That's one, generating passive income through real estate, and then leading quantum breakthroughs that secure our digital future, right? Those are the three things I'm focusing on. And I've been working on this for a while. And so the construction is beautiful. Like I have a construction team now. Like I'm growing the construction business. I'm doing things the right way. I'm not taking shortcuts. I'm building great homes, renovating great homes. They're selling for the top of the market. Every house that I sold was the highest sale in every neighborhood that I bought in because people walk in and they see, oh my gosh, he didn't take any shortcuts. He's actually got the right countertops. He's got good quality flooring. He doesn't have cheap laminate. He has actually got good tile flooring. Things like that. Those small things that I go, you know what? I'm going to do this house as if I'm going to live in it. And mind you, I might have spent a little bit more, but the consumer sees that and they pay a lot more because nobody else has that product. So those are the small things, the small decisions that I make that I ask Heavenly Father, what should I do here? And every time it's do it as if you're going to do it for yourself. Because if you truly care for your business and you behave in your business as if you care for yourself, as if you're serving yourself with it, customer would buy it. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's again, like, what are you gonna do if you're not worried about money? And I've seen this same kind of realization or attitude on the opposite end of the extreme. So some of the apartments and some of the properties that we have serve at-risk individuals who are living basically at or below the poverty line. And I see a lot of what you described, like with the story about the homeless man that you were talking to, a lot of depression, a lot of feeling of being destitute, desperate, just there's nowhere to go from here, life is pointless. But I also see something amazing when they are no longer worried about money because they've just accepted the fact that they're never going to have any money, that they're able to then focus on people. It's I will take the shirt off my back to help you. I will walk miles and miles without a car to come and get you out of a bad situation. And humans become the center of everything once money is stripped away, either because you have enough that you don't need to worry about where it's coming from, or you just, whatever, I don't have any. Let's just live life. And I think that it's just a beautiful a place to arrive at. And it makes me wonder, is it possible to get to that place somewhere in between those two extremes? How can you develop that attitude of people are what's important with while you still recognize, like, you need money to live, to pay your bills, keep the lights on. I need this job to support my family, and how to not get caught up in that and still be able to keep people focused in the middle where most of us are living.
Okay, so there are, I think, in your financial status, there are stages, right? There are stages because there's a stage in the beginning where you don't have any money,
Yeah.
right? To do anything. The only thing you can do is really work and knowing for a fact that if you do this job, for sure, you're going to get paid. And those are like employed jobs or even self employed, for example, right? You can start a detailing business, right? Knowing the fact if you detail the car, you'll get $150 by the end of that detail, right? There are some things that are guaranteed, right? In the business world, in the working world, right? So in the first phase, I had to be very disciplined with my money, right? I'm not saying don't be careless with your money, okay? That money will come just by serving others. I'm just saying in the beginning, oh, you have to serve others and money will come, but you have to also be disciplined to
Mhm.
save that money and make good choices with it. Because at the end of the day, money is a tool, right? You use the money to do things to generate more money. And so for me, the thing that stuck with me at that stage was that poor people sell their time for money and rich people buy their time with money, right? So I thought to myself, okay, if people buy their time with money, how much money would I need to start buying my time so I can focus on other things? So I started thinking to myself, I was like, okay, I need shelter, food, water, and those are the minimum requirements. And so if I can get to that specific just bottom line and passive income, then I can just step back a little bit and start really focusing on my passion and doing things I really want to do. Because I'm not limited to say, oh my gosh, I got an electric bill due at the end of the month. So now I got to stop my passion here and go do something that I don't like doing. What I'm saying is that in the beginning, you have to be disciplined and you have to use the money. So when I started buying and selling cars and I was at the college, I literally took the money that I made and I put it back into the cars. I never took any dollars out because why? To me, I was like, I'm at college. I'm eating. I got water. I'm paying my rent. I'm fine. I don't need an extra $2,000. At the end of the day, what am I going to do? I'm going to go buy some clothes that are going to rot in my closet. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm just going to play this experiment. If I continue to throw back that money into the business and see if I can grow it. And within 3 to 4 months, wow, I had 5 cars, 7 cars, 8 cars. And now people are talking like, man, you're coming in with a $40,000 Corvette. Why are you even in my class? Like literally, my professor told me I was sitting in the back of the class. And one of the hardest classes, linear algebra. My professor was one of the professors that is known to be, excuse my language, a dickhead in the whole university because he literally solved a problem that couldn't be solved in the universe and he got a PhD out of it. So he thought himself he's a genius, right? And his exams were people had to take his classes 2 times because they failed the
Mhm.
5th. They're so hard, okay? But I would study. To me, at the end of the day, after the class, kids went back home, played soccer, did all that. I went to the library, like, literally, I would just class, library, and that's it. That's all I knew. And so I knew it's me and you are gonna go toe to toe, like, "Professor, you're gonna give me the hardest exam, I'm gonna give you the sweetest solution," right? Because I'm gonna understand every single problem. I'm gonna study every single test question that you had because I belonged to a fraternity, so I had access to all the previous exams. I was like, "I'm gonna hack you, bro. You're not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop. I'm not just gonna pass your class, I'm gonna ace your class." But, the problem was in that specific time class, on Thursday, the biggest auction, car auction was happening in Orlando. And I couldn't go to it. I only joined it online. So I would go in the back of the class and I would open up my laptop and I would buy cars from my laptop while the class is happening. And then my professor would, every time we got our exam grades, he would just walk. If somebody failed, he would flip the exam paper and then just drop it on the table. And somebody passed, he would place it. So we knew who failed and who passed in the
No,
exam.
of course.
And so he would come, he would just literally go, so, Mr. Dowd, it's like, why are you in the back of my class and you keep acing my exams? I'm like, Professor, I'll tell you about that later. So after the class, I was like, Professor, the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm trying to buy cars. Like, hold on, you own a car dealership and you buy cars? He's like, why are you in my class? If everybody in here is trying to get a job, I was like, Professor, I'm not here to get a job. I'm here to understand how the universe works. Literally, I'm challenging myself and I'm trying to understand. He's like, wow, that's pretty impressing. Well, can you help me out? I'm like, absolutely, professor. I took him to the auction like 2 weeks later. He bought a car. I went through the whole process. We became best friends. But since then, what I'm saying to you is that I took the money and I invested the money back into the cars. And I was very disciplined with that. I didn't let my ego come in the middle like most people do and say, you know what? Since I have 20 grand right now, I can buy really nice Louis Vuitton shoes, or I can get a belt, or maybe I can go on social media and tell the world I got money. And I think a lot of people do that and they don't look at the big equation. They're just looking at these small rewards. And the moment they get to a specific height in their life, a specific threshold, they're like, "Whoa, that's really high. I think I have too much money. I have to bring it down. I have to spend it." And a lot of people spend and go back and their balances always remain the same, 4 digits, 5 digits, and they've never seen 6 digits or 7-digit bank account numbers, bank account balances. And to me, I never looked at that. I never looked at how much money I had. I just focused on just being the best I can be at the time that is given to me because you don't know when it's your time to go and you're not taking anything with you. And I learned that was a lesson that was taught to me when I lost my brother because he didn't take anything with him. The only thing we have now for him is the memories. And so to me, I'm always trying to get my memories and my experiences to be top notch. And that's why that mastermind we go to get together, Zenith Mastermind, because it teaches you that life is a balance. It's not one thing. It's not just money or just family or just having fun. It's a balance between all these six things. If you have the right balance, then you can start seeing your level of where you are in your life, your potential starts going up higher and higher. Until this day, I'm still trying to get that balance going because every day it is a different thing. Every day I wake up and I ask myself, what am I going to do today? What am I lacking first? And I was like, okay, I haven't really spent time with my kid a lot this week. And today I'm just going to dedicate that for that. I'm going to send him a message. I'm going to take him out. I'm going to figure out a way to give him that time today because that is where I'm lacking today. And the more I do that, the more joyful I become. And so your relationships get better, right? So if I may say my conscience tells me that I need to spend time with my son today, and I spend the time with him, now I'm feeling more joyful. I feel more balanced. And I go out and I go to the grocery store, for example, and at the line, this lady says, may I come in? And I was like, absolutely, please go ahead. And you're in a great mood and you're an amazing energy. She's like, oh, you're a very nice guy or whatever. And then you end up having a beautiful relationship. And maybe that relationship ends up you end up getting a business activity out of it or something enormous happens out of it. And that's how I met Jeff and how I met you and how I meet everyone is because of that. I'm always in that state of energy, like my cup is full and I'm here to fill your cup. And then when that person's cup is full as well, you have a beautiful experience. So I would say if you are in a place in your life where you don't know if it's hard on you and there's things that you're struggling with, acknowledge those struggles, but just know everything is temporary. If you can get yourself out of there, the first thing you need to do is have faith, believe that it's possible for you, then ask for it and visualize how it's going to be when you get there. I always visualize myself getting to that point. For example, building a hurricane proof home. How is the home going to look like? I visualize the hurricane hitting and what type of direction is the wind blowing most of the time in Florida. I'm visualizing it. And now, guess what? When I come up with this product, it's going to be an amazing product because I put everything into it and I visualize it to be that way. The same thing with your life. If you're seeing yourself, the bank account's always at $5,000, it never went beyond above that. Visualize your bank account to be $100,000. And now you're just going to start reverse engineering. If I had $100,000 in my bank account, I would be doing this, I would be doing that. And now you start doing those things. And guess what? Eventually, the universe is going to be like, absolutely, you can have it now. It just happens that way. When you're expecting it, most likely the higher probability is going to happen versus not expecting it at all or giving up.
Yeah. But also, it's like this strange balance, this juxtaposition of expecting it, but not expecting it. It's like expecting something, but not needing. It's a philosophical question. Like, how do you expect good things to happen without expecting good things to happen? Like, you don't need those good things to happen. You know what I'm asking?
So let me just repeat what you're just asking. You're saying, how can you expect something without asking for it? Or what?
Or what you mentioned earlier about when you put something out in the world, you literally are doing it just to put it out there with no expectation of return. It will return anyway. You know it will, but you don't need it to and you're not expecting it to. But yet at the same time, it's like we know it will, so we're expecting it. I think it's a different for me, I don't know, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, but it's a difficult concept to jive those two for me.
Okay, so let's just say you visualize, you say, I want to be one day, I want to be on a big mansion on the beach. Okay. And you're like in a little shack and you're paying rent and you're late on your rent right now. And you're expecting that, right? You're imagining that. The first thing you're going to do when you start visualizing yourself on the beach, on a mansion, right? You're going to say, what am I doing right now? Is it going to get me there?
Mhm.
And the immediate answer is no,
Well,
it's not. Okay, so what am I doing wrong right now? Or what am I needing to adjust right now to be able to be on that path maybe 5, 10, 20 years from now? What is that path? I'm in a job right now. I'm actually selling like electronics and I'm a Best Buy, for example. I'm a Best Buy right now and I'm making $5 for every sale and I'm spending about 30 minutes with the customer. Is that the right job for me to get to the beach, to that mansion on the beach? No. If I'm doing the same thing for 30 minutes, if I did something else doing the same thing for 30 minutes, selling something, but making $10,000, would that get me closer to the beach? Absolutely. Okay, so what are the things that I can do, not Best Buy, that I can do in other jobs that can get me 10,000? What are the sales that pay you $10,000 for every time you do a sale? When you refinance a house, if you're a loan officer, if you are a real estate agent, if you are maybe selling a Rolls Royce at a Rolls Royce car dealership. Okay, now I have to go focus on these things. I have to go and improve my skills and my patterns to get to that path. So now I have to take specific actions based on faith, because I know hopefully if I do this the right way and rightfully and be genuine with it, with a contrite spirit, that things potentially with God's beautiful miracles, He's going to help me open up these doors. So I go knock on Keller Williams' door and say, "Hey, do you have a minute to meet with me? Yeah, I'm trying to get my real estate license." And at the end of the conversation, you remember that God's in control and you say, "I hope you have a blessed day." And that moment, that person on the other side of the table says, that person has faith and I have faith and I think we can connect here. And okay, I'm going to send them an email later on tonight because I really feel that person needs to be changed. And guess what? Those small things that are not said, but noticed, those are the magical moments I say that only God knows about. Like only you and God knows about those things. And I can't really go pinpoint everything that happened in my life to where I am today because God made them happen that way. Like, for example, those 3 calls that I got the week after I decided to sell my car dealership, those are small things that happen that are magical, that because you had a contrite spirit and faith, and you took action in that energy level, and you had a vision where you wanted to go, that things eventually will come together. But you cannot say, I got my license today. Why don't I have a house on the beach tomorrow? So you can't be dictating like that. You got to be patient and you got to continue to reflect back on yourself and basically pray about it and find out what needs to change to get closer to that. And beautiful things happen because when you do that, you're at a different frequency level, right? Like Dr. Bruce Lipton, I don't know if you've heard of him, Joe Dispenza, right? Those are really iconic guys, and they talk about that you are an antenna. Like Dr. Bruce Lipton says, you're an antenna. You attract what you think about. And so basically, you're composed of a cloud of cells, and those cells have these hairlines on the outer membrane of the cell, and they let things in and they let things out of the cell. And the moment that you start having thoughts in your head, your thoughts can lead into this frequency, the vibrational frequency in your body through your nervous system, which basically vibrates your whole body at a specific frequency. So you can basically tune yourself, tune your body to any frequency that you want. Whether you're saying, I hope I don't get in a car accident today. Guess what? You're going to get in a car accident because you just told your subconscious mind, I hope I don't get into a car accident, rather than saying, I hope I make it to work safely. Both the same statements. One of them, you're attracting something to you, and the other, you attract another thing to you. So your thoughts control your in a way, control your destiny. So what I'm saying is like when you start thinking about surrendering and having faith and giving your energy to a higher being, a higher divine energy, God, and you tune your body to that, you are most likely going to be heading in the directions and the decisions you make at times that you don't understand, in moments where you're going to start being around people, being in environments, making decisions to join specific events where that energy is going to come in and you're going to basically parallel with it. So that's why I'm saying you have the ability to change your life within a simple decision and then follow through with that decision and have faith that things are going to work out for you. And then you start noticing those opportunities, right? When you see
Mhm.
it, you're like, oh, I want, like, for example, when I met Jeff, right? Jeff Flam, I was at a mastermind called Board of Advisors.
Mhm.
And at that moment in my life, I had given up everything, right? This is the moment I gave up the cars, I gave up everything, and I was just looking to serve others. I started that real estate brokerage thing, and I was like, I'm just gonna serve people. I'm just gonna love on people. I'm just gonna just totally surrender on that. And so when I was sitting there in the mastermind, there was all these CEOs and big guys and very successful guys and girls. And so they were all standing up and talking. And when they were talking, everybody was talking about their product or their service and why they're so special and all these greats. I was like, oh, come on, not another one. Come on. I was sitting there. I was like, I didn't come here just to listen to all of this. And then Jeff gets up and he starts talking about family and he starts talking about giving back and serving others. And that was like, whoa, this guy's got like, he's got the Holy Spirit living in him. I want to meet this guy, but I didn't wanna be imposing on him, and I didn't know he was the wealthiest guy in the room at that time. I just felt like this guy just had this stuff. He was content. He was like just a caring, loving individual, and I was sitting there, so we were sitting in a limo going to another event, like a dealership event, whatever, with the whole group, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting talking to a guy that's selling insurance next to me, and we were talking, and I was just thinking to myself, I wish I can just get an opportunity to talk to Jeff and get to meet this guy. And so out of nowhere, Jeff's hand goes on my shoulder, like
Oh.
out of nowhere, right? Asking for it. This was like a confirmation, like boom. Hey, young, hey, hey, young fella, what's your name? And I was like, I was like, "Hey, Jeff, this is my name is Will." And "You're new here, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get a chance to talk." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk with you." And so when we got to the location, I sat there, and then he came. I was sitting on a table by myself drinking water. Everybody's drinking alcohol and gambling and stuff like that. And so I'm sitting there drinking a bottle of water, dressed up in a suit, and everything he said resonated with me, right? Because it's the true essence of why I was there is because of God. Like he's the one that saved me. He's the one that brought me to where I'm at. He's the one that encouraged me to go to this mastermind. That's how I was found through the mastermind because I was posting stuff on my new brokerage company. I was like, my company is going to serve other people. It's going to, the 10% of our commission will go back towards any charity of the customer's choice. All the commission that we are going to make, 10% of that will go towards any charity of the choice of the closing person that we're closing with.
I mean,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is what I wanted at that time, tithing wasn't popular. It's still not popular for a lot of people. I don't know why, but you know,
donating and giving back is, and so you caught on to that. That beautiful
giving back, right?
yes, it's important.
And I think this is where the conversation starts connecting. You're not going to get what you really want. If you're possessed with something, you're not going to get it. It's only when you release it and release it for a good cause that you get the blessings out of it. For example, when I stopped holding on to the treasures and I started giving them back, it's amazing how the universe gives them back to you at folds, right? But what I wanted to teach people how to give back. And I didn't want to categorize it as tithing. So I said 10% of my commission will go towards any charity of your choice. I would have a list of charities at the closing table. I would say, like, you got to choose these because these were vetted. They would choose the charity and I would give back that 10% to the charity of their choice. I did that because I wanted to teach people that you become prosperous when you bless others. That was like the golden rule for me in money. I'm not saying I didn't care about money. I didn't make that the center of
Mhm.
my business, right? The
Right.
center of my business was serving others and helping people, really genuinely helping people and teaching people how to help each other. Because I think the world needs that a lot more today than any other, right? Everybody thinks that they just want now, what's in it for me? And you can see it, you can feel it around you. I felt it. You know how many people I saved out of a car accident? Like they ended up in a car accident and would just everybody sit there and watch them. And I would step out of my car, get them out of the car. And it happened 2 times. And nobody would come out to their cars and help them. And that shocked me. This was in California back in 2012. I was up in the mountains of Santa Monica. I'm driving up and around the corner in the mountain. And then I see this Camry come out of nowhere. And this guy, you can see he's shaking and passed out in the car. And he basically drives over the hill. The road was hilly, so he drives on the hill and the car goes up on the hill and flips and comes down and lands on the middle of the road. So it blocks both sides of the traffic on Mulholland, okay, on Mulholland and Bel Air. And I'm one of the cars that's in the front. I'm seeing this. Everybody's like pressing their horn. Come on, move it, whatever. And I'm like looking at this guy. He's like choking. The seatbelt's on his neck. He's about to die. I jump out of the car and go inside the vehicle. The vehicle's upside down. I open up the door. I had a knife on me. I cut the seatbelt and I grab him out of the car. He was too heavy. So I'm turning around. I was like, anybody, like, help me. Like, someone help me. And one person eventually comes out of the vehicle and starts bringing him out because I was worried that the vehicle was going to go on fire. The fuel was coming out of the car.
Mhm.
I was worried that this guy is passed out inside. And so I pull him out of the vehicle. And that moment I realized I was like, the world is that naive and cold for them not to see a human being about to die and they can do something about it and then do it. I was like, the world needs a lot more. They need to learn more about helping each other. And I think that is the reason why I made these shirts is because I was like, if I'm going to wear something, if I'm going to be a display to something in somebody's life, I want to be what I want the world to be. And so I made these hearts and it's amazing. Do you see the people's face now when they walk in a store or whatever? And you can see who has like a cold heart and who has a warm heart, right? By just looking at my shirt, I can just look at their face and see if they are a hateful person or they're a kind and loving person by just looking at my shirt.
Yeah.
And so this is another thing I wanted to share with the listeners is choose your tribe, right? And that's another thing. If you are in an environment you can change everything in your life, but you can change your environment by choice alone. So if you're in an environment that's toxic, you can't change that toxic environment. Okay. The only thing you can do is make a decision to change the environment that you're in, and that's moving out of it, going somewhere in a better environment. So choose your right tribe, choose your right people, surround yourself with positive people that are successful. And in scripture, it says iron sharpens iron, right? Surround yourself not only with great people, but people that are better than you, because
Yeah.
that is the way that you're going to learn and get yourself out of what you're in. If you're around people that are average, you're not going to find yourself breaking through that point in your life. You got to be around people that are better than you so that you can up your level and up your potential to become a better version of who you are.
Yes. Seeing what life could be like by changing the people that you're spending your time with has been one of the most powerful things for me to change. And I, when I was first got out, my parents were fantastic, very smart. My best friend's parents, same. It was a great experience growing up with basically these two sets of parents. And then as soon as I left high school, I became a nanny for some very high achieving, like top performers, lived in their household with them. And so those kinds of experiences stacked on. And so then when I first discovered the Zenith Mastermind, it was the same thing. I showed up and I was like, these are the people that are living, not every, no, not 100%, right? My daughter said Zenith is one of the best things that she's ever done, the best places she's ever been. She said, these people are so kind and giving and loving, and they're the richest people I've ever met. And I said, well, to be fair, is a really good cross section of wealthy people. It's people who are here who are want to be giving, who want to give back, who are thinking about things other than just money and business and what's in it for me. And it's just a place where where you are in a room where people can help you be better, and continually am seeking out those rooms. We were at a conference last week where I kept saying, "I think I'm the dumbest person in this room." I just said, "So that's how I know I'm in the
Yeah.
right room." Learned a lot. I learned a lot from them and choose to put myself in those situations because, like you said, it's just fun. And when you see people who put themselves in that situation continuously, that's who you wanna hang out with. And what's more is you were able to go into that room and specifically looking at that one in this room of people, that one has got something special, and then going after it and saying, "How do I figure out what that is, and how do I get more of that in my own life?"
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what makes people uncomfortable being in those environments, Emma, is their ego and it's fear as well. So those are two things. Ego and fear is another thing that I had to change about myself. I had high ego and I was afraid of failing. And, and that was in my younger years. And so what faith taught me is that you got to be selfless and you have to have humility and that failure is just a step closer to success. Like there's a difference between failure and losing, right?
Yeah.
Failure is almost going to happen in everything that you do in life. But losing is accepting the failure and not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And so what
Quitting.
I did is I changed that mindset. So I would walk in a room and I would immediately make myself vulnerable by showing that I'm not perfect. And at the same time, I knew that nobody in that room was perfect. But what it did touch, it touched the people that actually overcame that and became extremely successful because they had to have humility and selflessness, being able to fail and recognize and admit that they failed and continue to grow from there. And so they saw that in me and they're like, I want to talk to you because I
Yeah.
know you're going to make it, because I know that you have the right values, the right character for you to overcome these challenges. And that's another thing is that you got to change your values. You have to level up your values. What I mean by that,
Mm,
you cannot say, I'm going to accept this in my life, and whatever is given to me. You have to say, I want to raise my standards because I do not want my standards to be ever this low again. So let me give you an example here. I always reflect back on the standard aspect of it. I always reflect back to that moment. I had nothing. I was an illegal immigrant. I was in my car. I was homeless and I had nowhere to go. I had no money, nowhere to go. I just got robbed. One of my best friends, he was my best friend. It was my roommate. As an illegal immigrant, you can't work in the US. But I had to find a job that was under the table to be able to save up some money to be able to reinstate myself in college. The reason why I became an illegal immigrant, if a lot of listeners don't know about this, is that if you're an international student and you don't attend the university full time, means 12 credits or more, the university basically immediately cancels your student visa. So that happened to me. My dad wasn't able to send me money at one semester and I became out of status. And then from there, the university canceled my visa. And then from there, it's basically a trickle down effect, right? So when the visa's canceled, DMV cancels your driver's license, then cancels your car registration. You're basically like unplugged from earth, like
burned.
literally like, become a criminal overnight. If you walk outside, that's a crime. That's how it was. And so that happened to me. And I had to make a decision. I had to figure out a way to reinstate myself back in college. So I started going around and asking to try to get a job, see if somebody can give me a job. And I found a job at Subway. And this person that owned the Subway store was an Arabic guy, a Middle Eastern guy. And he's absolutely, I'll pay you under the table, I'll give you cash, whatever. And So I did that. I worked 70 hours a week to try to catch up and save some money so I can reinstate myself to college by next semester and I can be out of this illegal immigrant status. But I saved the money. I had $4,500. It was in my car. And one of my friends was like, every Tuesday we would wash our cars, we send it to the car wash. So the guy comes, "Are you ready to wash the car?" I'm like, "Yeah, give me a second." I was helping a customer. And my friend was like, "Just give him the keys." And he threw the keys at him. I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention. After that, the moment I was done with the sub, I was like, "Oh my gosh, my money's in the car." And so I literally the car was being driven up to and the guy that my friend was the one that drove it there. And I run across the street. He's driving into the car wash. I'm like, "Stop." I open up the door and the cash was gone. I was like, where's the money?" He's like, "What money?" And he gets up and he's acting like, "Are you telling me I'm your friend, bro? I'm not stealing. I'm not robbing from you." I was never able to find it. Anyways, I lost the money and I lost hope at that point because at this point I was like, I don't have money to reinstate myself. I have another 5 days. And I broke down, like, I didn't know what to do. I thought to myself, I was like, "Should I just go back home, go back to Dubai and do this?" And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna I refuse to fail." And so I pack up my stuff, and my aunt was in Canada, and she's, "Look, you don't have to struggle anymore. Come stay with me in Canada, and we can figure this out, and we can reinstate you back to college." I was like, "Aunt, I can't come to Canada. If I cross the borders, the thing, they're gonna know I'm an illegal." And she's like, "Just try." I was like, "Okay." I drive with my old beat up Ford Mustang all the way up in the middle of the winter, sleeping in my car along the way, get to the borders, and I'm sitting there praying, "Please, God, just let him ask me one simple question." And thank God I had my driver's license. It still showed it was active. But if they looked it up, it would show that it was canceled. So I was praying that he was just going to look at my driver's license and let me go. I'm sitting in my car, his driver's license registration. I was like, "Oh, absolutely." Give it to him. "So why are you going to Canada? What brings you to Canada?" I was like, "I'm visiting my aunt for spring break, for the break, and I'm just going to come back down to college." He looked at me. I was sitting there. I can feel his breath. He's making a decision to go back to the computer or not. He was like, "All right, you're good to go." And he gives me my driver's license and I drive through the borders. And at that moment in my life, I realized that this is the only chance now. I sleep on my aunt's couch for 6 months, trying to determine how I'm going to make it back there. And I remember that year. I will never forget it. My mom basically on my birthday called me. "I instructed your aunt to sell some of my gold and you're going to go back and register yourself back to university and you're gonna." And that moment I cried and it was a very emotional moment in my life. And I was like, I will never get to this standard ever again. Never. So what I'm saying to you is that to the listeners, you need to, if you are in a low place in your life right now, you need to make a decision right now that you will never get to this moment in your life that you're this low, that you're going to only focus on where you want to be and how you're going to get there. That is the only thing that goes in your mind every day in and out and having faith and pray about getting there. You should not look at yourself in a pity situation. You should not look down at yourself. You should not listen to your friends that are evaluating you for who you are at that point in your life where you are right now, because that doesn't matter. What matters is where you're going to go. And nobody's going to see that but you. And you're the only person that's going to drag yourself out of where you're at right now to all the way there. Nobody else is going to drag you. Nobody else is going to push you. That's my advice is that have faith that God loves you and he has great things for you and you have to have faith in that. And then ask him what you want and take the action that is required for you to get there. And things will start opening up for you and stop being so negative and saying, "I can't get there because I don't have a car. I don't have this." Look, I didn't have anything. I had nothing. My car was a beat up vehicle. Okay. It was probably, I'd have to pay them to take. Okay. But I didn't look at when at that moment in my life, I realized that's the worst I could get in my life. No car, no registration, nothing, no food, no money, no nothing. I had nothing. I was sleeping on a couch in the middle of like, Montreal, the coldest place on earth. I was like, no, this is the lowest I'll get. And from there, my life turned around, but it wasn't easy. I worked hard. I read a lot of books. I taught myself. And now I'm a person of value. Anywhere I go, I know I can make money. I can build a house with my own hands. Why? Because I taught myself that stuff and I never took life for granted. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. And I always say the good stuff starts at the end. This is why I have a longer, like, conversational style podcast because I feel like the beginning, we're just, even though I already know you, I feel like we're just getting to know you with the audience. And then the end is where things start getting good, right? So it's almost like skip to the end, right? Because this kind of stuff from people who have lived in the trenches, and that's what the show is all about. It's like pretending that we're at some sort of a networking event, we're getting to know each other, and then people can listen in to the conversation and learn because that's if you're around people in your real life that you can't not be around. We're talking about upgrading the people, getting out of toxic situations, but sometimes like the people you family or certain situations. And then we also don't want to just only surround ourselves with higher achievers because I feel like we kind of lose touch with reality sometimes, like when the real struggles that people are having and we forget, and oh, you've just worked hard, you could. So I find that there are certain people that I spend time with that teach me sometimes what not to do. Let's just put it that way. But then I have this opportunity to come on podcasts, to read books, like you said, and to surround myself in masterminds and all that. So I feel like it's easy to say, oh, upgrade the people in your life, but it's a lot harder to actually do and to do compassionately because I don't want to be one of those people who just cuts people out of my life because we're not growing together or something. It's a really delicate balance there. But okay, so last time I saw you in person, you were not working on any of the quantum stuff that you're working on now. So just briefly catch me up with what you can before some of the paperwork and patents and things like that go through. So just what
Okay.
can you share
Well,
publicly?
my attorney, so just to let the listeners know, I'm working on a revolutionary cybersecurity. It's called QKD. It's a quantum protocol. It's a
Mhm.
distribution. So anything right now that you send messages or communicate, there's a key, there's an encryption
An
process.
encryption.
Okay. And as quantum computers are going to start, they exist and they're going to be existing a lot more. All the encryptions that are currently on normal computers are going to be almost, there's no use. You can hack them very easily with a quantum computer. Okay.
Right.
But there's a big problem coming to us. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I've discovered, believe it or not, and I found a sequence in the number theory. So I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I was selling a hotel there called the Ballplate in Estes Park. And between that time, I would just go watch the sunsets on beautiful Rocky Mountains. And I was sitting there playing with on my little journal, and this thing came to me. I was like, okay, there was a specific sequence I was trying to understand in number theory, and I can't talk too much about it as far, but I can say it's in the prime number theory. Okay, so it's in a prime number in number theory, and I was able to find the sequence of prime numbers. Okay, it's through that process of it's actually reflected back on scripture, and it says, and on the seventh day God rested. Right, so basically, God created the whole universe, everything in 6 days. So there had to be some correlations there with the number theory, with chemistry, with everything else. So I wrote a paper back in 2017 showing that an equation shows how you can actually find the sequence of prime numbers. And I didn't know what that meant at that time. And people thought I was crazy back in 2017 when I said that on social media. What is this guy talking about? But now things are because I've continued to start finding correlations. I found a symmetry in chemistry and physics, and I was able to come up with a cryptography encryption to be able to create an indestructible protocol for encryption. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it for a minute. It's called Qubit Shield. I call it the product Qubit Shield. In the simplest terms, Qubit Shield is a new form of cybersecurity that's designed for quantum future. As quantum computers get more powerful, the way we protect our data today, like with passwords and encryptions, just won't hold up anymore. That's where Qubit Shield comes in. Qubit Shield is the next generation encryption and key distribution platform that's built to be resilient even against quantum level threats. It creates ultra secure keys that can be used for messaging, data transfer, and storage, even blockchain, in a way that traditional systems can't crack. Even if you had the most powerful computer in the world, you can't crack the encryption. Now, how did I come to this? Honestly, it actually started with a question. What if we've been looking at the structure of security and information all wrong? I've always been fascinated by patterns in nature, time, and technology. I started exploring how quantum systems behave, how they communicate, evolve, and even how they break down. That curiosity led me to a new approach for building a security system that inherently unpredictable but mathematically grounded. And that's what became Qubit Shield. It's currently in development. We've already tested a working API, and we're preparing for deployment in cloud and enterprise environments. We're also in the process of filing intellectual property protection. We already have provisional patents filed. So I can't say everything just yet, but let's just say the foundation of the systems flips the rules of conventional cryptography on its head. Okay.
Okay.
So it's revolutionary. So my vision is to provide a way for businesses, governments, and eventually consumers to protect their most sensitive data, even in the world where quantum computers are a reality. And the best part, it's already working. So I have already a working product and I've tested it. And it's actually, I've made a lot of tests. and validations, and I'm really excited about it. So that's what I'm working on now. And obviously, I'm still working on the hurricane-proof home developments and stuff like that, but that's gonna be like my baby right here.
Yeah, it and anybody who's watched any documentary on quantum computing, cybersecurity, it's doomsday level stuff. It's terrifying. I don't know if it's actually as terrifying or they're trying to over dramatize it for the documentaries that I'm watching, but it's fascinating because I remember the first time I heard about this several years ago, I remember thinking like, it's not going to be doomsday because some smart person is going to come along and figure something out to solve this problem. Everybody knows it's a Y2K kind of thing. It's going to be fine. That's when I was at an event recently with some of our mutual friends, and they mentioned that you were working on something in that space. I was like, "Okay, like, I need to hear as much as you can tell me about it." And I know that you can't talk about a whole lot right now, but, I appreciate you sharing that with me, sharing it with the listener, and because to me, when I heard that, I was like, "Okay, it's not gonna be doomsday. We're gonna be fine." So, yeah, and it's incredible that's the kind of stuff that you can work on kinda like on the side because you have created a life where your money provides you the time and the mental energy that you need in order to get this done. And I always joke with people, that's what passive income is all about in my own life. But I find myself, the more passive income I get, the smaller I'm living. Like, I love having all this extra time. I love just sitting and reading and researching, and I'm not thinking big and I'm not pushing and stretching myself in the same ways that I was when I was desperate to become successful. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe the last 2 years have been like one big long sabbatical and we're getting ready to go on another one, and I just feel I don't know, does that do you ever get in that where you're just thinking kind of small for now and then you'll get an idea and you'll go off and do something big?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's how Qubit Shield was evolved from obviously the construction stuff that I'm doing right now. And I think we tend to sometimes set very realistic goals for our lives.
Mhm.
And when we get there, we're like, oh, we just got there and we can sit on the couch and eat popcorn all day and we're fine. But then what happens is you go into this like low trend because if you're not growing, you're dying. And so to me, I always ask myself is if today was my last day, if today was my final day, what would I be doing? I was like, I want to be doing the most amazing thing that could be done. And what could that be? I'm gonna try to save the world, or I'm gonna try to change the way there's a problem. There's gonna be a problem with quantum computers. Let me try to do that before I die. Or let me try to do something that is going to maybe ripple this beautiful inspirational story to other people where the world could be in a way shifted in the right direction. So as much as there's evil in this world, there's also very good people. And I think what good people lack today is they're not bold about it because it is now with Donald Trump being in office and we're trying to change the world, right? Trying to make it a better place and stop the corruption and do all these things. But I think it hasn't been, it's not boldly stated, right? I
Mm,
don't think it's boldly stated in the world. It's not like the the cool thing to do. It's always going after what you want and not giving back or doing something amazing. And I think legacy is when you actually give it all away, right?
mm,
Give it all away and for a good cause, right? So to me, you got to ask yourself, Emma, what do you I know that you've reached a point in your life, you have all these things, and those things are sufficient enough for you to continue your life for the rest of your life. You don't need anything else. But my question is that your purpose? Or it's
not.
more than that, right? So that this is where you gotta continue to break out of your shell. You have different shell energy levels. You've reached this beautiful energy level. You have, and I'm really proud of you. You have did all these amazing things in your life. All I'm asking now is there's another shell over that, but you can't see it. And the way you need to do it is you not to start to tell yourself, if this was my last day today, what would I be doing? Because you're not taking anything with you other than the stories, the memories, and the great things that you did. And when you leave, the people behind you that you care about and love, what are they going to say that you left? And what are they going to continue from that moment that you leave? To me, I want it when I leave, I want the people that I care about, that care about me, to continue what I'm trying to accomplish. And if what I'm trying to accomplish is a good thing, then I've left the world a better place because they're going to continue a good thing. And eventually the good thing is going to become better and better and the world become a better place. But a lot of people say, I don't care about what I leave behind. I don't care. I'm just going to continue to consume and I'm just going to be okay with that. But the question is that the best you could do? Is that the highest purposeful, fulfilled life that you thought you're gonna have? Look, I was born differently, right? But a lot of people are maybe they're content. They like average. They like just getting to a point and just having a system in place. I don't like that. I like to continue to have breakthroughs in my life. And I'm going to continue to have it till the day I die. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to evolve to become a better version of who I am. And I want to inspire your listeners to be that because why? You're going to live every day like it's your last day, but you're going to live it a fulfilled life. Like you're gonna have so much energy. People are gonna be like, "This person is so inspirational." You know me, Emma. Like, I'm in the middle of a group. I'm the most inspirational person in that group. Why? Because I'm continuously telling you, like, inspiring others with stuff that they could be like, "Wow, you did all of that," and now they want to do it, right? The younger crowd, Cooper or any the younger crowd that's in our group, they're all they're looking for that. They're looking. We have a responsibility as an older generation
Yes.
to inspire the younger ones to continue to make the world a better place. And if we don't do that, you're going to have the other side of that equation. And that's to me my obligation now to I feel I'm responsible. I am aware, I'm conscious enough to know the difference. And if I knew that and I didn't take an action on that would make me not like the person that lived to the fullest or the best version of who they are. So to me, I'm always challenging myself to say, if today was my last day, what would I be doing and what would I leave behind? And
Yeah.
those are the things that I'm doing, right? But thank God I'm living every single day and things are growing, getting better. Because if you're intense every single day and trying to reach a higher potential every single day, and you tell yourself, if I can get 1% better every day, you're going to become 100% better in 100 days. And so to me, if I can get better 1% every single day, I know I'm on the right track. So to me, I'm always trying to improve myself.
Yeah. It's interesting you use that visualization because when I'm meditating, never told anybody this. When I'm meditating, what I'm seeing, I'm trying to think nothing. But what I always end up seeing is that I'm existing in the empty space between electrons. That because the universe is so vast, it's mostly just empty space between these particles. And so I see these electrons like flying in my visualization when I'm meditating and trying to think nothing. And now I think that I'm gonna start seeing, like, breaking out of that electron cloud into the next level so I can go form bonds with other
Let me tell you something
people.
that is actually it's going to be a theory and it's going to be implemented. And this is what I found. Actually, the universe, the whole thing is harmonic.
Yeah,
Everything is harmonic. Okay. And I proved that because I took data from satellite, electromagnetic waves from actual satellite data, and I correlated them with the equations that I've built, and there are exact symmetries. So nothing is by coincidence, what I'm saying to you. So everything around you is harmonic and everything is connected. You might not see that there's space that it's not connected. It's very much connected, but we can't see it. Why? Because we can only see as much as our eyes can see. Because how our sense feel a lot of engineers know this. How do sensors work? Sensors work by having an element from the periodic table of elements and putting that with 2 wires from each side and putting it in space. For example, to sense light, you put a specific element, and when the light hits that element, it creates a voltage, and that voltage creates a signal, and that signal says, "Okay, there's light." So we have always, as human beings, sensed our environment by the atomic structure, by the atoms that we know of that exist. But there's a lot of other things that we can't even sense or even see like the Holy Spirit or divine energies, because we don't have the instruments to be able to sense them, but they truly exist. I can say that they truly exist because when I saw the harmonic structure of the universe, down to the atomic structure itself. So I took an atom and I found the energy levels of the atom, and each energy level correlates with the actual sequence. I saw that there's nothing by coincidence. It's all by design. And so everything that you see around you when you're meditating, just know your thought itself, just thinking that creates the reality. So,
okay.
like, you're creating in your mind anything that is possible. So be very careful about what you visualize, right? And everything is possible. The moment you imagine it, the moment you see it in your mind, it can become reality because that is how it works. Have you ever thought about something that you thought about maybe something and you see it? Or you think about your mom or your sister and then your sister calls or your mom calls? Do you think that's by coincidence? No, that is because the harmonic structure of the universe, the energy levels, you have used your thoughts to antenna or to align or to harmonize yourself with that thought that vibrated in another human being. I believe that everything is by design and that you can have control over your destiny, but you have to have, first of all, faith that it exists. And then you got to imagine it and attract it to yourself and take the proper action to get yourself in that position.
Yeah.
And yeah, so next time you meditate, it's not just empty space, I promise you, that space you can fill with anything you want.
Yeah, it okay, so we all have that guy that we grew up with back from our hometown who says he's discovered perpetual energy and he's can do it from Home Depot components, and you're like, and he's talking big, and you're sitting there thinking, I don't think this guy really knows what he's talking about. How do you differentiate yourself from that guy?
Okay, so I don't just go on video, say I do those things. I have actual paper with an actual study
Yeah.
of an actual numbers of energy levels for atomic structures, where the energy levels for hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, all of that, where those electrons could potentially be. And then that energy level correlates exactly with the equations that I have,
Okay.
right? It's a mathematical validation. And it's around prime numbers, okay? So that is basically the big picture. It's actually I proved it, and I went to confirm to myself. I went to USF and I spoke with the head of chair at the engineering department, and I showed him my paper, and he validates it, and he says it's
Okay.
true. And now I'm in the process of publishing that paper. Okay, so it will be published, and your listeners could look into that. But in another couple of weeks, I would be having it published on arvix.com, and you can go
Mhm.
on there and look me up, and you'll see the published paper there. But that I don't and there is no perpetual
Yeah,
energy.
I know,
Oh,
especially not from Home Depot.
no, but I truly believe that there is sequence, there is patterns, and nothing is by accident, right? Everything is by design. For example, well, they say if everything was by design, how would you say a person that was, for example, okay, so everything we take machine learning and artificial intelligence, we take everything in probability, right? So they say there's a high probability that a thought, for example, like autonomous vehicles, right? So when you program an autonomous vehicle, let's just say you're trying to train the vehicle to make a right on a green light on a specific road. So what you do is you take all the different vehicles, they're by GPS coordinates, and see how all these cars turn, a million turns in that specific turn. And okay, based on this turn, with all these million vehicles that turn on this specific turn, this is the highest probability that that's the perfect turn.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how machine learning works. They study that whatever it is over a thousand million times, and they come up with the highest probability, and this is the perfect way of doing it. Same thing with ChatGPT. They ask a question, and it does reasoning, and it does based on this question, this is all the information, but based on that specific question with 100 other questions, this is the correct answer.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to give them. So that's how things work, like as far as like machine learning and all of the other stuff.
Mhm.
So now we're going back and saying, okay, what were we talking about? We're talking about perpetual energy and all.
Just a serious scientist, and you have data and studies and things to back up something truly revolutionary. And then people will be like, oh, I know a guy from high school who said that he could, or whatever. There's a conspiracy that aliens are going to have down. And I think that sometimes when I'm in a room full of really high achievers and they start talking, and I know this is not a conspiracy theory, this is not the crazy kid from high school. These are extremely high achievers talking about real things that they're actually have done or are doing, and it for sometimes I have to stop and remind myself, like, "This is for real, like, what we're talking about in this room right now." And I think sometimes we forget we forget that because we have so much noise from conspiracy theories or crackpots. We have to just remind ourselves, like, look at the room that you're in and see, like, people are doing really, truly amazing things, and I have to sometimes remind myself, "That's who I'm hanging out with right now."
Yeah, it's a mutual relationship, Emma. You're doing great, amazing things as well. Everybody's got a gift in them, and you just got to discover that gift. And how you discover it is you got to face yourself in the mirror and come up with what your purpose is in life. And the thing is that it's not easy to go through that. I had to go for many years, walks on the beaches and like being alone, isolated, trying to understand what I want to be and who I want to be.
Yeah. Like, that's the phase I'm in right now. Like you said, you hit the edge of the goal that you set, and then there's a period of time where your electrons are just going around and they're just doing their thing, and then you got to have this surge, almost a sprint of energy to break up to the next shell, but while you're going around and around, that's the beach, that's the pondering, that's the sabbatical, that's the where you were when we were in Kauai, where you're like, "I don't really know, I have some ideas and some things I'm getting excited about, but I just don't know. I've taken some time to find myself." And I feel like I'm excited for you that you've gotten to that point where you're working on something that's truly inspiring yourself. And I definitely feel like I'm in that spot where I'm walking on the beach, doing the thinking and all that. And sometimes it's tough to just not know what's next, but at the same time, it's such a beautiful experience to the privilege to be able to even have that experience. Yeah.
So I would say you have a lot more than you think because if you really sit down and you really reflect on yourself, since you're a child, okay, till today, there was only one Emma in this whole universe, and there will never be another Emma, right? And so think about it that way. You have specific ingredients that if you play around with them and bring them together, you can come up with a recipe that nobody else can replicate, right? Like this cybersecurity thing, I know nobody else can replicate. Why? Because they have to go through the same process. They have to go through the process of not accepting this level of self, who they are. They had to challenge themselves. They had to become successful, let go of success because I misunderstood what success really means. Then they had to sit down and then get better in specific things that didn't make sense at that point, other than just wanted to get it done. And then when you got there, now you have all these things that you have in your pocket, and you're like, "What do I do with this?" You're
Mhm.
like, "Whoa, I see something now that other people don't see. I'm gonna make this happen." And then you said, "I have the qualifications to do it. I have the skill. I took the time to sit there and learn how to do it. Nobody can do what I'm doing right now." Now, obviously, you can write a book and people will start doing what you're doing, right? Teach them how to become you,
Mhm.
right? Write a book or something to teach them the things that you've discovered. Like, for example, Einstein or everybody that were geniuses. But once they saw his story, now they
Yeah.
understood the general.
Yeah, now we're teaching relativity and
You know what I'm saying?
history.
But at that moment, when Einstein was trying to come up with the equations and he came up with them, he knew that nobody else would be able to understand them because
Yeah,
nobody else would have that. They had to go through the same theories and understanding of what physics really meant.
yeah,
But it took a lifetime for him to actually do it, and when it was done and he wrote about it and he actually showed them the proof, then people said, "Oh, wow, you brought all these together. You're an amazing person." So what I'm saying to you is that you are that person. I am that person. Every listener is that person. But the only problem that they don't continue to do it and overcome it is because they listen to their environment. They disbelieve in themselves. They doubt themselves. They have fear of failure. They have ego. They're scared of losing out on life. So they go out and party and do all these things. And they stop focusing on the real thing and saying, what is my legacy? What am I going to leave behind? And so the more you get to know yourself, the better it's going to get for you, right? The more that you can understand who you are, what your strength is, the more you can shut out the environment and you focus on your inner voice, the closer you're gonna get to the finish line. Because it's
mhm,
remember, again, you're the only person that's gonna get yourself out of the crap hole that you're in. So if you're the only person that can get yourself out of the crap hole, why the heck are you listening to everybody else? You need to let your inner voice be the main force to make the main decisions in your life to get you to where you need to be. So
yeah,
to me, I don't care. Like to me right now, I don't like care about what people think anymore about me. There's always gonna be this like resistance against change, right? When you're trying to do something different, okay, that's growth, that's something to create, recreating something, there's going to be resistance from all sides, right? For example, I want to be the first billionaire in the family, right? So to be the first billionaire, it means you cannot listen to your family because they're not
yeah,
billionaires.
not millionaires, yep,
When my mom says, "Hey, Will, you have money, send me 5 grand this weekend." Mom, I'm not sending you 5 grand because not because I don't have it, it's because I'm trying to be a billionaire. She was like, "You have enough money. Why do you wanna be a billionaire? Why did you gotta take care of your mom?" And I was like, "Mom, have you ever became a billionaire? No. So why are you telling me how to become a billionaire?" I was like,
mhm,
"Please let me finish this, and I promise you'll never have to worry about anything again." And that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you have to say, "Stop. I know what I'm doing. You need to give me my space and let me focus on what I'm working on." And you do that over a period of time and things start to change because results happen actually when you start actually taking action in the proper direction. Great stuff starts to happen. And people that at that point that doubted you and rejected you or resisted you, now they're like, wow, I'm proud of you. This and that. Show me how it's done. And now you have more respect. But in the beginning, I had to be alone for a while before I could have healthy relationships because it's that moment where I put myself and my belief in myself first. So that's my there's gonna be what I'm saying to you is that before a breakthrough happens, there will be a breakdown. And that
mhm,
breakdown, you are going to experience it and it's not gonna feel good. But all I'm saying is that have faith and continue to push forward and stay consistent and say, I'm going to get 1% better today. I'm going to pick up myself, brush the dust off my shoulders. I'm going to continue to do what I love to do. And in time, you're going to create an amazing thing. But always be consistent, take massive action, have faith, believe in yourself, have a vision of where you're going and focus on that alone and learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward, keep pushing forward.
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna leave it right there. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with me, with our listener, doing what you do best. When we first met on the couple of retreats that we've been on, with that kind of like a attraction force that you're talking about, it's this guy's talking differently than other people in this room are talking. And I want to hear what he has to say. So I am honored to be part of getting your voice out there and helping the listener by just putting information out there that's helpful. I think you're having the ultimate adventure fueled by passive income, and that is what the show is all about. So, how do people get a hold of you, Will? Where do you hang out?
So right now, the best way to get a hold of me is just go to qubitshield.com. You can write me an email there. You can join the waiting list. So that's where I'm spending a lot of my time in is just development of Qubit Shield and making sure it comes to the real world. And then also you can always add me on Facebook. I'm engaged in Facebook and Instagram. Just my name, Will Dowd. You can find me. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with all of you. Anything that I can do to help, anything I can do to serve, to be able to bring more value to you and your lives and your families, I'm here. Like I always tell my friends and my family, I'm always here for that because that's what ultimately matters at the end of the day. You are the most valuable creation that ever existed. And so, me, you are that. So, when you reach out to me, that's how I'm going to treat you. So, other than that, thank you so much, Emma, for the opportunity to be on your show. And I'm so excited to seeing you again and having those big discussions with you. And I look forward to seeing the best.
Yeah, definitely. And if you, we've touched on a lot of things today. So, you, as a listener, investor out there, if there was something in the show that connected with you, that's why we give our information out at the end to connect with us because people are the most important thing on this planet. And serving one another and just putting good things out there, just what we talked about today, is what we want to do. And we can't do that if we don't have the conversation afterwards to get to know one another because the success is built on relationships, not money. And that's what the adventure part of the show is all about. So be sure to reach out to me as well, partnerwithrise.com/Emma. Whatever you want to talk about, I'll connect you with whoever I can to help you with whatever you're working on. And can't wait to hear more about you, the passive income adventure that you're planning, and help you along on that journey. So thank you, Will. Thank you, listeners, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.